I'm going for the first interview in my life, so मैं salary negotiate नहीं करूँगा and जो मिल जाएगा ले लूँगा.
If someone leaves the company before a year, maybe you have to return that joining bonus to the organization.
Your graduation, post graduation, if you have done it from tier 1 campus or not, that is also plays a major role here.
One thing is, which I think the candidate should ask the recruiters, is how much is the budget that the recruiters have for that role.
Every 3 months the technology is kind of updating itself or it's changing, right? So generally I ask my candidates during the HR discussion that what is your expectation from your next employer.
Anybody who is watching this session, in the description section you can get a free resume template that will provide you, which is ATS friendly.
If I'm already sitting on a CTC, let's say 50 lakhs, if I go for a 30% of a hike, it would be too much.
Right.
There are certain organizations where they hire from only specific tier 1 colleges. You can use Pay Scale. Pay Scale is one of the latest website that is there, which uses the AI as well.
So does that happen क्या if you see a candidate के resume में 5-6 नौकरियां बहुत तेजी से बदल दी हैं लास्ट 2-3 साल में, so that is a red flag for you?
I would say yes, Shashank.
Hi everyone, welcome to session on salary negotiation. As you would have seen in the latest news that there will be 10% more openings coming this year. So I feel that this is the right time that we should be having this session. I have two of my good friends here, Vikas and Shashank. Vikas heads the talent acquisition at REA and Shashank is director talent acquisition at Lead IC Design. And both of these are seasoned HR leaders. So आज के session में discussion would be around कि आप कैसे HR के अपने discussions को navigate कर सकते हैं. How you can ensure कि अगर आपके बीच दो job offers हैं आपके पास, आप उस situation को कैसे navigate करो, and all the situations that are related to HR, those things we'll be discussing here. So welcome Shashank, welcome Vikas to Growthcast podcast.
Hi Shashank, thank you so much for the warm welcome.
Thanks, Shashank.
Hi.
Hi, everyone.
So I'll directly jump into the things. So first of all, I wanted to understand what was the first salary negotiation that you had in your first job and how was that experience? So just you can start with your first job experience. How was it and how you negotiated salary being a HR?
So I would have to go, I think, 9 years down the line. So I did my first HR discussion with one of the freshers whom we hired from a campus drive, and nothing much when you hire a fresher, but that too when it is your first HR negotiation, it kind of gives you a lot of excitement, right? So it was the basic that for freshers, as you know, all the organizations have a set standard and the package they need to offer. But to explain the components of that CTC breakup, that was something that I did for the first time, where I came to know how much exactly the enhanced salary is when you have CTC of, let's say, 10 LPA or 12 LPA, right? What you get is little less. To explain that thing to a fresher was something very memorable for me as of now till date.
And what about you, Vikas?
Again, so as Shashank said, like I think we have to go back in time, and I think it was 10 years back for me. And it was again, I think, a campus hiring that I did. So even I was a fresher at that point of time. So I also did a campus hiring. I think we have almost, I think, gone to, I think, 10 different colleges where we had BTech freshers. I think that point of time, as a HR professional, I think I was mostly aware with, what are the package that we are offering, what are the benefits that we are offering, and how it is, say, best among the industry that we are offering to them.
Right.
So I think from a candidate point, that were the questions, like, what is the benefit that they will be getting apart from the salary that we are offering. So I think that were, I think, those things. From a compensation point, no scope of negotiation, of course, because companies have a very much defined set for the campus hiring. Yeah. But in terms of benefits and all, what is the best that we are offering? I think that was something I think we I think told the students at that point of time.
Got it, got it. Right, I have basically divided this whole conversation into different subsections जिससे लोगों को आइडिया लगता जाए कि कैसे कैसे उन्हें navigate करना होता है. I think सबसे पहला जो section है that I would like to touch on is कि पहली जो call आपके पास आती है HR की, and in that call generally it's asked what is your salary expectation, and then from there onwards the whole process begins. So what according to you should be the answer when the HR is calling and asking what is your salary expectation, how people should navigate? Maybe because you can start, Shashank, you can add on from there.
Yeah. Shashank, I would like to get your question again. If you can just
So,
repeat the question.
when the candidates are getting call from HR, where they are asking what is your salary expectation, how they should be handling that particular call?
Okay, got it.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, please.
Yes. So basically, so when we say, say call the candidate and, like we say, ask, like the candidates, like what are their salary expectations. So basically, one thing is, which I think, the candidate should always ask the recruiters is how much is the budget, that the recruiters have for that role.
Right.
So most of the times recruiters won't tell you the exact budget, but they will tell you the range that they have that for that particular role. So I think at least the candidate should get an idea if the company has. So in India, I think one of the advantage that we have is that even we can ask the people's salary, that how much they are drawing, and we have that advantage of asking the candidates, unlike other countries. But yeah, so I think that's one. So I think most of the time recruiters are already aware, but still I think candidates should always ask the recruiters what is the salary range that they have. So that also gives them an idea if the employer will be able to say match what they will be expecting, and whether it's aligned to their say next move, the number that they have in their mind. So one thing is that they should always ask the recruiters about the salary range that the recruiter has.
Got it, got it. And what about you, Shashank? Anything you'd like to add on here?
Yeah, Shashank, I would like to add one more thing. When the recruiters ask them their expectations, the candidate should always come up with a number, not a percentage, or let's say that most of the time the candidate doesn't know, right, what he is expecting or what should be expected. So generally they say that as per company standards. So to avoid any sort of confusion at the later stage when the real actual HR negotiation takes place, at the first call itself, the candidate should definitely come up with a number. For example, if a candidate is currently working on a 10 LPA, right? He or she should always have a number in mind that this is something that he or she is looking for as from the next employer, right? So as a recruiter, it becomes easier to take that profile ahead. As a candidate, it becomes easier for you to explain at the end of the process that what exactly you were looking at,
Right.
and the negotiation becomes way easier after that.
Got it, got it. And
Just adding one more thing over here. So I think, as Shashank mentioned, the candidate should always come with the numbers. Reason being is because we have a very much, I think common statement what the candidates usually say, the industry standards.
Yeah.
Industry standard across the company is quite different. I think I think few companies it might be say 10, 15. Few companies it might be 30%. So maybe every recruiter has different understanding of the industry standards. So at that point of time, if the candidates don't set the clear expectations, as Shashank mentioned, there are chances that it can be a problem at the time of say of a discussion when the recruiters are they discuss the numbers with the candidates. So it can be a mismatch in the expectations what candidates were expecting versus what the employer is offering.
got it, got it. And you both talked about numbers. So, what are two or three resources that candidates can use for doing their research, for having these kind of discussions?
So there are few websites, Shashank, from which the candidates can extract the not exact data of any organization, but approximate data. They can have an idea, fair idea about the salary. They can definitely use Glassdoor. They can use Career Builder. They can use PayScale. PayScale is one of the latest website that is there, which uses the AI as well, based on the skills of the candidates and based on the organizations where these skills are being hired. This gives a fair idea about the approximate salaries of the candidate. So this pay scale basically use the AI tool to analyze the data from different websites and then collaborate that data and then showcases that on the website.
Got it.
So these are the three channels the candidates can definitely use.
And also just to add on, I think apart from the, I think channels nowadays, I think in every company, I think folks, they would have, say their, say alumni, maybe,
Right.
from the campus or, from the past employers, and they can always use their network. I think nowadays, I think LinkedIn, there are different, forums where, say, the events are conducted, say for the engineers or for the HRs.
Right.
I think one should always use a network also, just to understand, say what that particular say organization is offering. Because from a say these sites, I think there are chances that you will get some idea, but I think a proper citing inside you can get through your network what actually the company is offering. So I think one should always use a network.
Definitely, I agree with that point because network plays a major role in today's world.
Got it, got it.
Right.
It's my next question. So one question that I also got when I told people we are having this session was around that if during say first call we come up with a number which is very large, so we will come out to be someone who is very greedy or someone who is very demanding, and it will leave a bad impression in front of HR. So does that really happen?
No, Shashank. Generally, that's not the case because look, everyone is looking for some or the other growth in the career, right? You cannot just simply say that I'm okay with the same salary,
Right,
right? So expectations. That's why we ask, what's your salary expectations, right? Expectations can be anything.
right,
Even a guy sitting on a 10 LPA can ask for a 50 LPA, right? That's what he's expecting,
right,
but the expectation should be somewhat fairly matching what exactly you are at currently. And at the same time, you should definitely understand what the organization is into, right?
right,
So there is a set thing, as we say that we should always look into other, we should always see what's there on the other side, what sort of opportunities the organization can provide, and then you need to analyze a bit and then quote a number.
right, right. What about you, Vikas? What's your take on this?
So I think if you have a valid reason, like how you can justify the expectation that you have, you can always go ahead with that. I believe, and end of the day, everyone works for the money, right? We all are like salaried professional. Everyone has some say financial need that why we are working. So I think if you have a fair reasons of why you are say asking the numbers, sometimes what I have seen is the candidate that I have reached out to probably they did their due diligence about the company, like what is the say average compensation that the company is offering. Maybe they're at quite say lower salary, and now what they're expecting is quite high. But they did the proper research about the company, that what is the average pay that we offer. Also from a company point of view, there are lot of times there are like changes that company offers as per the parity.
Right,
Even the startups which are high, which are offering the higher salary today, tomorrow they will also offer as per the salary parity only, because tomorrow they will also go in that situation where they will have some salary parity within the organization.
right.
So that's one. So if someone is a lower CTC, if they have done a due diligence, if they have a valid reason why they are asking for that high numbers, it's always, I think I think justified. So that should not be a problem. Even most of the times when I reach out to the candidates, I ask them what are the thing that they are looking at, whether it's a compensation, whether it's a domain change, or whether it's a role that we are offering. So I ask them what are their priorities. So if they have a reason justified for these things, so I think we can always they can always have that aspiration that they have. Nothing wrong in that.
Got it, got it. And you both also in starting talked about budget. So do companies always have a budget for a particular role? That is, there is a minimum or maximum that they generally plan to maybe give to the candidate. So क्या वो budget रहता है hiring के time, और उस budget को कैसे tap on कर सकते हैं candidates during their discussion?
So, if I talk from my experience, so I worked mostly, I think, from a very initial startups, maybe into the organization who went IPO, then they got say structured as well.
Right,
So what I've seen is that, of course, the compensation, the range is always there. But yeah, at many times the company also looks very specific for say some critical talent that they need. So exceptions, as are always there. Maybe in that case, we can even go above and beyond the budget as well for some of the cases. But mostly, I think we have a range that we get say from say our particular organization for that particular role.
right.
So that's there. So there are basically two things, depends upon the talent also that we are hiring. But mostly I would say there are say like a specified range that recruiter has while they reach out to the candidates.
Got it. एंड शशांक, अगर इस रेंज को मैक्सिमाइज करना है तो एक तो पहली चीज हो गई कि आपका इंटरव्यू अच्छा जाना चाहिए। और भी कुछ चीजें हैं क्या जिस पे कैंडिडेट्स डबल डाउन कर सकते हैं टू इंश्योर कि अगर एक बजट है तो टॉप एंड ऑफ बजट को वो हिट करें?
Definitely, Shashank. So basically, the way the interview happens, that is one. Okay. What sort of certifications that candidate has, that's again add something to the profile. Okay. Your graduation, post graduation, if you have done it from a tier 1 organization, tier 1 campus or not, that is also plays a major role here. Plus what sort of experiences you have gained so far in your career, right? So we what generally we see, look into a candidate, how flexible the candidate is, right?
Right.
That is very important in today's era, because it's a fast changing world. Every now and then we when I specifically talk about technology, we see that every 3 months the technology is kind of updating itself, or it's changing,
Right.
right? Earlier we were looking for people who were completely into Java or .NET only, right now we are looking for people who are experienced into Java and say React or Angular. We
Right.
kind of looking at full stack developers, right? So we definitely see in the profile what sort of experiences the candidate has in the past, what sort of potential he has to groom himself or herself when he is in the organization, what sort of contribution he will be bringing to the team. That's what is also mattered here.
Got it. And I think this one question most of the people has asked, and I also want to ask you, why always there is a preference given to early joiners? So why there is always a hurry ki if you can join early or immediate joiners preferred, even though we have a 60-90 day notice period ka thing in India.
So Sashank, this is something that majorly happens when we are in a service-based industry, right? So what happens is generally our hirings takes place when there is a need,
Right.
right? When we get a project from one of the clients, that's where the need arises. Our salespeople commit the client that we already have the bench, right? Generally sometimes it is that we do not have that person in house and we look for external people, but since we already have committed our deadlines to the customers, we look for people who can join us early. And this is not the case every time,
Right.
Shashank. We wait for candidates who join us in, say, 90 days as well, right? But that depends on the experience. The sort of candidates we are getting in today's time is every candidate is coming up with multiple offers, right?
Right.
So to make sure and to ensure that the candidate is not going to counter offer on our offer, to not is not willing to shop around. That's the only reason as of now that we see that we want candidates to join us immediately, so that we can utilize that timeline as well,
Yeah.
and can produce the results.
What about you, Vikas? Do you have any more points to add here? कि क्या होता क्यों है? Why people prefer immediate joiners?
So I agree to Shashank, but I think there is also problem in the product-based organization as well. The problem is that once you say interview a candidate, I think you get the slots from the interviewers, right? Probably end of the day their job is not say taking interviews, but still they invest time in interviews process, and we offer a candidate with certain expectations, where they will be aligned in those all things. And when you get a news probably say from a candidate that they are not joining, they got a better opportunity, so that actually makes your say process again, you have to repeat the same thing.
Right.
So a lot of I think time and energy I think goes into that. So I think just to avoid that, employers usually prefer folks who can join early, because chances of getting them drop at leadership becomes less,
Right.
probability of joining them early becomes high. And also in the organization, whenever any folks join, for them also it takes some time to be say get productive in the
Right.
company. So that also I think the employers want to reduce that time as well. So I think that is the reason like I think most of the employer we prefer say early joiners. And especially I think even now also the kind of market it has become, I think it's the same story over here as well. Now like you're offering someone, end of the day I think they will come with multiple offers, and probably I think they might even ghost you. So
Right.
companies want to avoid that, and they want to at least reduce the risk and get some immediate joiners.
Got it. So say if I'm a candidate, I get a good offer, then what are some of the ways using which I can negotiate my notice period in my current organization? Because generally notice period is between 60 to 90 days. So what do you suggest people how to negotiate their notice period?
One thing is, whenever I speak to my candidates, like if they get offer and if they have a bigger notice period. So one thing is always, say to plan their KT, like, how they are planning to do their, say maybe KT, right?
Right.
So have a discussion around them. And if they are, say, required to, say, get a replacement also, so how can they contribute in that? How can they make that process faster? So I think these are some of the things. Also, I think they can go and, on the basis of how the what kind of relationship they have there with managers, I think that also plays a, I think, one of the, I think, biggest role, I think, in their early releasing. Because they can, tell that, like, the maybe the other employer why they need them, like, maybe to get onboarded early, have that, reason justified, and, have a proper KT plan, how they can, say, contribute in bringing their replacement in the organization. So I think these are few things, which I tell to the candidate that I speak to.
And what about you, Shashank? Any tips from your side on negotiating this notice period?
So Shashank, generally we ask the candidate to check with their HRs and the managers if they have a buyout option available, because in certain cases we have that budget to get that candidate onboarded in early time if we can buy out the notice period, or we try to add a joining bonus and say that if you join us within that stipulated time, we'll be giving you that joining bonus. So the joining bonus can be a sort of one-time payment, or it can be paid for retention bonus sort of thing as well. That gives an upper edge, right? And most of the time, we look for candidates. We in our initial calls only we ask them whether they are currently working in any project or are they on bench, because generally getting early joiners, it becomes easier if the candidate is on a bench.
Got it, got it. You talked about joining bonus. So I think most of the people in India, मतलब from my experience मैंने देखा है कि maybe 6 out of 10 कभी इसकी conversation करते ही नहीं. So is there always a budget for joining bonus? And if yes, then how one should have this conversation with the HR or recruiter during the first few calls itself कि मेरे को joining bonus चाहिए.
So, Shashank, it is not always that we have that levy of a joining bonus, depending on the skill. So, for example, अगर मैं किसी एक niche skill के लिए hire कर रहा हूँ जिसमें मेरे को पता है कि there are not much candidates in the market, right? To keep that candidate, I would again have to put in lot of efforts, right? अगर एक candidate है, अगर ये drop out होता है, so मेरा cycle वापस से same level पे आके start हो जाएगा. I'll have to wait for, let's say, 60 days again to find that candidate. और अगर ड्यूरिंग द इंटरव्यू इफ द पैनल सेज कि नहीं कैंडिडेट बहुत अच्छा है एंड ही वांट्स हिम इन हिज और हर टीम, right, depending on their skills and the interviews. So this is something that is always debatable, whether to give that joining bonus. We as an HR always have this discussion with our management that based on the interview, do you think कि उसको देना चाहिए joining bonus, या based on the skills that you are hiring या criticality of the role, it depends, हम लोग दे सकते हैं.
Got it. What about you, Vikas? Mhm.
So joining bonus, I think across the company, I think it plays, I think some significant role also. So I can just give you a few examples. So joining bonus comes with a clause also, I think, in most of the companies. So one is maybe, the company that is offering you a joining bonus, that will give you that joining bonus with a particular date, that if you're joining on this particular date, you are eligible to get that joining bonus. One is that. Apart from that, the companies, whenever, the appraisal happens, it always happens on the CTC that is being offered, not on the joining bonus. So joining bonus can be, say, part of, sometimes, exception budget, that we get approved, say, from our business, right? Just to make the candidates join early and push them, say, for early joining. And sometimes even, joining can also play a part of retention as well. Not every time, but it does, because it also comes with a clause where, say, if someone leaves the company before a year, maybe, you have to return that joining bonus to the organization. So that also, I think, is one of the aspects if you look at joining bonus. But yes, depending upon the scenarios, we, get approvals on the joining bonus on basis of, say, if we want to make the candidate join early, or maybe, if you're not able to match what the candidate expectation in the terms of the CTC,
Right.
we can always go there by, offering some, say, joining, or maybe, adding some retention as well.
Got it, got it. नहीं, आई थिंक वी हैव लेड द फाउंडेशन। अभी तक हमने डिस्कस कर लिया है जॉइनिंग बोनस क्या होता है, आपका नेगोशिएशन आप कैसे कर सकते हो, और हमने ये भी डिस्कस किया है कि अगर आपके पास पहली कॉल आए तो आप उसको कैसे टैकल करो। आई थिंक नेक्स्ट सेक्शन में थोड़ा सा मैं मूव करता हूँ। दिस इज बेसिकली मिथ वर्सेस रियलिटी, सो आई टेल अ स्टेटमेंट, यू बोथ टेल मी इज इट अ मिथ और अ रियलिटी। सो द फर्स्ट स्टेटमेंट इज यू शुड नेवर negotiate your first offer. Whatever first offer that you are getting, you should accept it as it is if you're searching for a job.
So I think now it basically depends upon the case as well. So if it is a campus say thing, so
Right.
you don't have that scope only. So that it's not a scope. But yes, if you are going say for off campus, I think you should definitely, because I think the first salary that you get, I think when you are making a second move, I think the hike that you'll be getting will be on that compensation only.
Right.
So I think there's nothing wrong if you are say doing a negotiation even on your first salary also. And again, depends upon what valid reason you have for that, what value add you are bringing to the organization. If you always have a valid reason for your say ask, I think it's always fair to do a salary negotiation.
Got it. Shashank, what about you? Is this a myth or reality?
Mm. Yes, it's a myth. I would definitely agree what Vikas just said. I would like to add another thing. So as a candidate, you should always know your worth. That's what I say to my candidates, right? Because that will give you a boost and a confidence. So it's not that I'm going for the first interview in my life, so मैं salary negotiate नहीं करूँगा and जो मिल जाएगा ले लूँगा. That's the thinking generally the candidates who the college pass outs have, right? Because हम लोग का माइंडसेट कॉलेज से ऐसे किया गया है, whenever the companies come, the placement cells will say कि ये this is the budget that the company will give you and this is what you need to do. जिनका placement नहीं होता है, they are in that perception only कि company का budget उतना ही है and they cannot
Right.
negotiate, right? So they should definitely negotiate a bit, not to the extent that that opportunity is gone, but to some extent based on their skills, definitely based on the certifications, I would again say. So it's all about grooming yourself and preparing for that organization.
Got it. I think second question is salary negotiation is only about fixed, कि अगर मैंने अपना fixed increase कर लिया तो मेरा overall CTC बढ़ जाएगा. Is this a myth or reality?
It's again a myth, I would say.
Yeah, I would agree to that. I think it's again a myth only.
Got it, got it. So basically, apart from fixed, there are other components also that you both would suggest कि उसके ऊपर भी बात की जानी चाहिए when you are negotiating your offer, right?
Definitely, Shashank. So आज के टाइम पे ये हो रहा है कि there are a lot of startups coming up today, right? सो सीटी के साथ सीटीसी के साथ में दे डेफिनेटली ऐड ईसॉप्स के ऑप्शंस आ जाते हैं, कुछ जॉइनिंग बोनस आ जाते हैं, कुछ कुछ ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस प्रोवाइड करती हैं हायर एजुकेशन के लिए भी
Right.
अपॉर्चुनिटीज, कुछ ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस रहती हैं जो मेडिकल जो रहता है इट्स नॉट अ पार्ट ऑफ दैट सीटीसी. सो उसमें दे कैन आस्क कि आपको चाहिए मेडिकल नहीं चाहिए. आई आई वर्क विद वन ऑर्गेनाइजेशन where this medical insurance were not considered as a part of the CTC, but if you are going for an extra premium, then that would be deducted from the CTC.
अच्छा, okay.
हाँ, so that is already there. So वो सारी चीजें भी रहती हैं which makes a part of the CTC and that can help in a better way, because last में जाके जो breakdown आता है that can be included for the negotiations.
Got it, got it. I think next statement is talking about money with HR will make you look greedy.
That depends how much you are talking.
हाँ, वो अभी तो बताया विकास ने कि 10 की जगह 50 मांग लोगे तो फिर दिक्कत.
So it's I would say I would be neutral on this. It's not a myth or reality, but definitely depending on what exactly the scenario is, it would sound like that.
Yeah, I think reasonable number would make more sense here.
Yeah.
And there's one more statement कि अगर if you frequently job hop a lot, then chances of you getting shortlist are very low. So does that happen क्या? If you see a candidate के resume में 5-6 नौकरियां बहुत तेजी से बदल दी हैं लास्ट 2-3 साल में, so that is a red flag for you.
I would say yes, Shashank, especially when you hire for experienced folks, because if you see from a hiring manager point of view, they see that if a person is stable, they would have at least contributed in something in the organization. And if they would have make say quick switches, probably in making like contributing in something, the chances would be relatively very smaller.
Right.
So they go for that also. Especially, I think this applies to, say, while say we hire, say, any engineers as well. So most of the times, they have their questions on their projects, and like what was the say the implication of those projects, right? Like how that project contributed in the organization's success or their own say personal achievement, right?
Right.
So I think for that particular question also, your profile should be stable, right? That
Right.
you would have contributed some. So I would say depends on case to case, but I think most of the time it actually reality is, though, if you get a call from a recruiter, if you have say on your own say valid reason, it can be say from the organization point that there were layoffs, or say your own say personal situation. But when you look from a recruiter point, I think most of the time in generally screening only,
Hmm.
maybe the chances are that profile, maybe I would not consider, maybe for the role that I'm hiring for.
Because you don't have the context ki kya situation thi.
Right.
Right. Right. What about you, Shashank?
Same, Shashank. Generally, we avoid people who have multiple job hops within stipulated time. So, for example, we come across candidates who has 5 years of experience and have six jobs or five
Right.
jobs. Right? There are certain projects which can go longer. Right? There are certain positions which would demand more stability, because that would be the leadership
Right.
roles. There would be certain positions where the candidate will have to lead a team, right? So in that case, definitely it gives that the candidate either was a non-performer, that's why that was the case, or the candidate was exclusively looking for a good amount of hikes, that's why he or she was kind of hopping the job. Shashank, one thing, I am getting messages that people are trying to join, but they are not able to join.
I think through the application they can join in. We can see 38 folks are already there.
Okay, I just got couple of messages. That's
Maybe they
fine.
can join in through
Good.
the application. We've dropped a mail also. I'll move to the
Okay.
next question. So generally this question is ki say if I get two offers, I go ahead with the second offer and the offer that you have given me, I have rejected it. So does it burn bridges with the company or do I get blacklisted? What happens say if a candidate rejects the offer on the very last day of the joining itself?
So depends upon how you have updated that, like particular information to maybe the recruiter or the hiring manager for that role.
Right.
So if you have just, like came up with a offer and you just, like tell them that you're not joining, you got something better. So of course, I think that recruiter will have your impression in mind while next time if he reaches out to you.
Right.
But just in case, if you have say on your own valid reason that why you want to go ahead with another opportunity, maybe it aligns better with your career aspiration that you have at this point of time. If you have your own valid reasons that you are explaining to the hiring manager or the recruiters that you're in touch with, that I don't think will impact the relationship, because everyone wants to hire a good talent at end of the day. Maybe this was not the right time, but maybe next time, maybe they can hire that person.
Got it, got it. So Shashank, with you, I would like to ask, so say if somebody was evaluating two offers and second offer was paying significantly higher, so does this reason lands well that the second offer was giving me, say, a decent hike compared to the offer that you gave me, that is why I went ahead with that offer?
Generally, yes, because every candidate's motivation for switching job is different,
Right.
Shashank, right? So, what I feel is, I generally evaluate candidate based on three things. Whether he's looking, that's what Vikas also said at the start of our conversation, that whether the candidate is only looking for money, whether the candidate is looking for company culture or the role, okay, and whether the candidate is looking for stability,
Right.
right? If the candidate has a motivation that only money can fulfill, then definitely that reason would be valid. But we will make sure that we do not approach that candidate again until and unless we are not at least getting someone who is not better than him,
Right.
right? So that is there. If a candidate is looking for company culture, or a candidate is looking for role or skills, that's something where we can motivate the candidate to join us and not take the other offer, maybe.
Got it, got it, got it. I'll move to the next section, which is among which the section basically focuses on common challenges faced by candidates. So I just wanted to understand from you too कि generally people think कि अगर HR stage तक पहुंच जाते हैं तो वह task is completely done, बस अब एक negotiation बची है, but then there are people who get rejected at HR stage as well. So what are some of the common reasons that people get rejected in the final HR stage during those conversations?
I think some of the common observation what I have seen is that if the candidates they clear maybe say the initial maybe say technical interviews or the respective interview that they had for their say that role, but still if they have not done maybe say proper research about the company, what is their understanding about the company, like how say and also if see usually in the HR discussion there'd also questions around the culture fitment, right?
Right,
So sometimes that also maybe it can be a uh, maybe there can be some difference around that as well. But what I've usually seen is if the folks have cleared the technical interviews, but they're not sure why they want to join this organization,
right,
right? And they were still just given the interviews for the sake of say getting the offer, or get something now and get something better than that. That also can be rejection for those candidates. And apart from that, I think also sometimes maybe there are say if say a HR person is doing an interview, maybe from a culture fitment point of view, there can be say some differences in that as well. So that also becomes sometimes a reason for rejection of that particular
got
candidates.
it, got it. What about you, Shashank? What are some of the reasons that you have seen candidates getting rejected at HR stage?
So I've seen multiple times, Shashank, when it happens that candidate clears the technical round, उनका एक attitude change हो जाता है. There is a shift, right? Earlier they was kind of asking. Now they think that they are the givers,
Right,
right? So एक वो जो attitude change होता है, that matters a lot. Sometimes it happens with me nowadays. I do not source profiles, so मेरे टीम मेंबर को जब सोर्सिंग किया होगा उस टाइम पे कैंडिडेट ने कुछ अलग चीजें बोली होंगी, बट ड्यूरिंग द कंप्लीट प्रोसेस और लास्ट में जब एचआर इंटरव्यू के लिए चीजें आती हैं कुछ चीजें और बोल दी, राइट? So that is, there is a gap between your first conversation and the conversation that you are having with that HR person, right? If that is also not aligning, we can sense that something is fishy, right? The motivation is different. The candidate is looking for something else, right? That we as an organization cannot provide, or even if we provide, the candidate will not stay,
right.
right? So that's there that I look for.
Got it, got it. So there is one thing that I think most of the people here in chat have also written. So if somebody is on career break, how they should justify it. So if they are having a call with you and you see somebody coming with a 1 year or a 2 year career break, there are certain women professionals who basically take some break to maybe when their children are growing up. So when they are coming back to the workforce, how they can justify their career break? What are some of the tips that you'd like to give to them?
Okay. So, Shashank, if I specifically talk about uh, women taking career break, they have valid reasons, right? Maybe because of maternity break, they want to restart the career, or maybe because of shift in location, they left the previous job or something. So there is a valid reason, but they should definitely tell what they have done before they left the previous job, right? They should come up prepared for the interview, right? Definitely, as I said, that the technology is changing at a fast pace, so you cannot just expect the same sort of skill that you were having, let's say, 1.5 years back. Okay, there is certain changes, but then also come prepared, brush up what you have done in the past. That will help you out in at least justifying your previous experience, right? So that should be there. If you talk about the generic thing that due to family emergencies or due to XYZ reason the candidate had to left the job, you can definitely tell that upfront that because of XYZ reason I left my previous job, and I have started the search now. And during that duration, if you were doing any of the certifications or you were upskilling yourself, that will give a positive impact.
Got it, got it. I think one more question that we have is somebody say in their current organization for 10, 12, or 14 years. and their package is really low, but as per industry standard now, since they have gained decent experience, their package should be high. So how they should be communicating about this to you during the call or conversation? Because क्योंकि ऑर्गेनाइजेशन में रहे थे तो उतना सैलरी ग्रोथ नहीं हो पाई, बट अब एक्सपीरियंस के मार्केट स्टैंडर्ड के हिसाब से तो आपकी सैलरी हाई होनी चाहिए.
So, Shashank, यहाँ पे I'll take one of the examples from the past. So, there was a very talented person. I'll not say the name of the organization. He was working with that organization for past 24 years, and he was at a very low compensation, right? Because generally what happens है, आप एक organization में अगर longest stay भी कर जाते हो, so आपका vertical growth तो होता है, बट मॉनेटरी ग्रोथ की अगर हम लोग बात करें सो वही जो स्टैंडर्ड है 7 to 15% के ब्रैकेट में ही जो एवरेज अप्रेजल्स होते हैं, based on that it happens. So generally what conversation I had with that guy was uh, he almost talked to me for doubling his current CTC, right? He had a valid reason for that if he would have switched job, let's say 4 to 5 years, every 4 to 5 years he might have switched the job, then the CTC would be that much,
Right.
right? Taking that 25% to 30% wala bracket. So that is one thing that was justifiable. And second thing was he was coming up with lot of experience where he has built lot of teams. Okay, he had gained lot of knowledge. Not just vertical growth was there was a horizontal growth as well, right?
Right.
So he knew how to run an organization. Same is the case when a candidate is not that senior but has stayed for, let's say, 4 or 5 years with the same organization. The candidate at least have the knowledge of end to end things that happens in a project,
Right.
right? That is something that he can definitely bring into the notice of the HR or the interviewers, that look, I have not just worked on a single module, I know the end to end thing of that project, right? Basically, in general terms, in IT, we say end to end implementation of that project
Right.
that matters, right? So that's something that they can justify.
Got it, got it. So, next question, I'll move on. So, because I'd like you to answer this. So, if somebody is switching job in less than a year, so how they can justify this during their conversation with the HR? Because now in their resume it is shown that now they are hopping just within a year. So, what are some of the common reasons that land well with HR and you feel that okay, this reason is justified?
So if a candidate is making a switch less than a year, so chances are, of course, there will be say maybe some valid reason that they already have.
Right.
It can be say in terms of maybe a location constraint that they are facing, or in terms of the role that they were offered versus the thing that they are doing now is quite different,
Right.
right? So first of all, I think having a proper reason that why they are making a switch should be there with the candidates. It should not be just because of that maybe they feel like maybe the next hike that they'll be getting in this company might not be something that they are just were looking out, right?
Right.
So that could not be ideal reason, but if there are say other reasons that can be in terms of the location or in terms of the role that they were offered is completely different,
Right.
or any other reason that they feel justified, then they can always like make a switch, because staying somewhere where say you're not happy and maybe you don't feel motivated enough, I think it will not contribute, I think, well in your career as well.
Right.
So yeah.
Shashank, what are your thoughts on this?
And I would like to add what Vikas has said. So you should every human is different, right? किसी का पीस ऑफ माइंड इज मनी, किसी का पीस ऑफ माइंड इज कंफर्ट, किसी का पीस ऑफ माइंड इज डूइंग समथिंग एडवेंचरस, राइट? सो it is not always about money. If you are staying with that organization, it is not always about the role. Okay, you should always know what's one thing that you want from yourself, right? If that is not aligned with the organization where you are currently, or that is not aligned with the organization that you are making a switch to, then definitely you should look into it.
Got it, got it. एक situation जो आती है typically, and you both talked about it quite few times, is job hopping. So if I have two job offers, how I should evaluate the job offer, and then the second part of question is how should I convey to the other HR where I'm not joining, ki why I'm not joining. So would like to know your take on this one.
So that's I'll continue my previous statement here also,
Hmm.
Shashank. So if I'm making a switch, okay, I know why I'm leaving that job,
Right.
right? And if the organization where I'm going right now, if they are promising me that this is something that they will provide, okay, that's one thing that I would see. If I have two offers, I will definitely evaluate that which one organization is matching to more towards my expectations, right? So generally I ask my candidates during the HR discussion that what is your expectation from your next employer? Is it only money? Is it the role? Is it the culture?
Okay.
Right?
Got it. Vikas, what about you?
So my take is, say if you have say two offers, maybe you want to look at what these two offers are offering you,
Hmm.
right? So it can be say compensation. It can be say if there are say the offer say has a better say ESOPs. You have to do your own due diligence about the organization, right?
Right.
So what are the chances of maybe that going say that company say going IPO, or maybe from a bigger picture. So you have to always do a proper due diligence in terms of the compensation that they're offering, also in terms of the benefits. There are a lot of benefits that we usually don't see, whether say it's a food or cab. Even these things, I
Right.
think these are also plays, I think, a bigger role while you're say making a switch, right? Because maybe fix looks better on say papers, but the other benefit, I think, it's a, I think, asset only for you in some way.
Hmm.
Also you should look at say if there are say ESOPs. You should always compare, say if the company is already public versus what the share value has. Also if the company says a private company, you should look at what say um, what stage of funding they are,
Right.
whether it's a series C, series E, what are the chances of getting that company IPO. I think apart from that, while you are making a communication to the say the respective HR or the hiring manager, as I mentioned earlier, you should highlight the reason that why you have decided to go ahead with another
Right.
organization, why you feel that this organization say contributes better, whether say it is like in terms of the compensation or the role that they're offering you. You should always be clear about it. Maybe the chances are the other company where you are communicating, they might have something better for you that they can offer
राइट
instead of
बिकॉज यू
leaving
टोल्ड
you.
कि वो रेंज तो रहती है तो अगर लगता है कि हाँ
Right.
रेंज है तो आप नेगोशिएट कर सकते हो उस चीज के ऊपर इसमें एक वो ईसॉप वाला पॉइंट यू टच्ड अपॉन विकास सो ईसॉप जनरली किस तरह से वेस्ट होते हैं इज इट अ 3 ईयर 4 ईयर वेस्टिंग और वो कैसे कंपोनेंट में रहता है कंपेयर टू से अ कंपनी विच इज गिविंग फिक्स प्लस वेरिएबल अगर फिक्स प्लस ईसॉप रहते हैं तो ईसॉप का कंपोनेंट क्या रहता है वुड लाइक टू डीमिस्टिफाई इट अ लिटिल बिट फॉर द ऑडियंस
Yeah, sure. So usually stocks, they have a 4 year of vesting
हम्म
period. And nowadays the good part is even the company has not gone IPO, they give a option of buyback.
राइट
So even you have a chance where you can get a cash by selling your ESOPs. So that option you can always check with the company when you are say when the company is offering you ESOP, whether there's the option of buyout and those all things, or when there will be option of buyout. Usually stocks have a 4 years of vesting period. I think in most of the companies, I think the first vesting happens after a year. In few companies, the vesting can also happen, say, after quarter maybe.
राइट
After 1 year, it will start vesting quarterly as well. That's how the vesting happens.
Got it. I think एक situation जो अभी है market में that we see is a lot of layoffs happening. So say if somebody who has been laid off from their current role and they are applying to a new company, should they go with the same CTC जो पहले था क्योंकि they have this fear कि maybe they will not match the CTC और they are also मतलब you will tell them कि आप भी आगे जाके अपना negotiate कर सकते हो maybe you can also ask for a hike even though you were laid off.
So there, I think it depends actually. So sometimes, maybe in few of the cases, what I have seen in the employer specific, they reach out to the company where they've heard, say news of layoffs,
Right,
say maybe mass layoff happened.
right,
In that, I think particular case, I think, the employer would be, I think, fairly very
hmm,
smart in terms of the compensation that they're offering. They would always, want, say, maybe to hire those folks at the same
hmm.
CTC, maybe, that particular case, because they know that, people
पैनिक
don't
मोड में
have
अभी
choice,
हाँ हम्म
right? So in that case, but yeah, if I talk about, say, the person has been laid off, and if still say they felt like, say they were due for appraisal, which was say supposed to happen maybe, this year.
Right.
And that could not happen because, these unforeseen circumstances
Hmm.
happened. So in that case, they can put their views. So employer, if they want to take ahead or not, consider or not, that's up to the employer. But still, if the candidate feels that, they should put their point, so they should, like, I think, let the employer know. Uh, because I think there is nothing wrong in it. So the candidate, they can always, talk about it, and they can see the scope, whether there are any chances of that happening or not.
Got it. शशांक, what about you? इस पे कैसे सिचुएशन को टैकल करना चाहिए if you have been laid off and then you are having salary negotiation with HR?
So, Shashank, according to me, you should always, or not always, you should also see when was the last appraisal happened, right?
Right.
As Vikas said, if the appraisal is due, you can definitely ask for that. If, for example, in most of the organizations in India, the appraisals happen in the month of, say, April,
Right.
or maybe some organizations follow the different financial year, January to December, right? So two times the appraisals happen. Either it's January or April,
Right.
right? And that is the maximum number of time we see layoffs as well, right? That's the trend. Okay, trend of leaving the organization, trend of organization leaving the employee.
Right. Right.
These are the two times where we see the maximum number. So you should definitely consider when was the last appraisal happened.
Hmm.
Okay, you should always tell the recruiters or the HR person forehand that even if you were not being laid off and you were looking for something for better opportunity, then this was something that you were supposed to quote. But due to the layoff, you're not quoting that much, but at least you deserve a fair amount of hike.
Got it. I think there is one question also around key percentage hike. Like you told Shashank and Vikas initially, कि 25 to 30% लोग blanket statement मारते हैं, but does it vary industry to industry? और आज के टाइम में when we see कि companies खुद ही 2 4 5% से ऊपर की हाइक दे नहीं रही हैं, तो क्या ये 20-25% को आदमी ट्वीक करके 30-40% भी अपनी कॉन्वर्सेशन में कर सकता है क्या? कि ये नंबर वैरी कैसे करता है? मतलब जनरली पीपल कीप ऑन थ्रोइंग दिस नंबर कि 30% हाइक मिली तो चले जाओ, और वो हाइक वैरी करती है क्या रोल वाइज इंडस्ट्री वाइज भी?
डेफिनेटली शशांक, वो वेरी करती है. सो फॉर एग्जांपल जनरल स्टैंडर्ड्स जो पहले हुआ करते थे कि 25 to 30% का था, वो ऑटोमेटिकली आज के टाइम पे इंक्रीज हो चुका है 35 to 40% वाले ब्रैकेट पे. सो वेन एवर यू अप्रोच अ कैंडिडेट, उसका फर्स्ट स्टेटमेंट ही रहता है, आई एम लुकिंग फॉर 35 to 40% ऑफ द हाइक, राइट? डिपेंडिंग ऑन दी अदर फैक्टर्स एज वेल, कि हमारा इन्फ्लेशन रेट किस हिसाब से चेंज हो रहा है. उस टाइम पे हो सकता था जब अर्लियर वी यूज टू नेगोशिएट विद द कैंडिडेट, द एक्सपेंसेस वर नॉट दैट हाई, राइट? But in today's world, seeing the taxes and everything that have been raised on the CTC part as well, and on the other things as well, everybody wants a lifestyle boost, right? So to maintain that, generally it has increased to 35 to 40%. But when it comes to the senior folks, right, they also know that if I'm already sitting on a CTC, let's say 50 lakhs, right, if I go for a 30% of a hike, it would be too much,
Right.
right? So generally at the senior level, they are open for negotiations on that. When you see on the mid level, the ranges are somewhere around 35 to 40%. If you go on the junior side where the CTC is very less, right, there is something that the candidate even asks for 100% hike,
Right.
right? So that has been the case, and the industry standard. And definitely it also depends on skills to skills, right? So in some cases, it works as if the candidate number of experience into 5, right? In some cases it would be number of experience into 4. So you will have to evaluate a bit where you are standing at this point of time, and the organization where you are applying, or the organization who is approaching you, at what level they are currently.
एंड ये जो नंबर ऑफ एक्सपीरियंस इंटू 5 इंटू 4 करके सीटीसी निकलता है, ये आई गेस हर इंडस्ट्री के लिए अलग अलग ही रहता होगा. कोई अगर एआई मशीन लर्निंग में तो उसके लिए मल्टीपल 6 7 भी जा सकता है, कोई दूसरे प्रोफाइल में जिसमें मे बी बहुत ज्यादा टैलेंट की सप्लाई, वहाँ ये नंबर नीचे भी जाता होगा.
हाँ, definitely.
And just to add on this, I think nowadays, I think the work model that the company is following, that also plays, I think, an important role while you're doing a salary negotiation. So whether you are being offered, say, a remote, a hybrid, or on-site,
Right.
so that also becomes, I think, one of the I think important factor, like while making a, say, a salary negotiation. So if a company is offering you remote versus a hybrid versus on-site, because you have to see, your expenses where it is growing, and even you can have a same set of justification with your recruiters and the hiring managers as well.
Got it. So, विकास इसी में मेरे को पूछना था कि say talking about maybe can you give me please a remote option or a hybrid option or a on-site option, is it something good that you can maybe go ahead and talk about it, या companies के rule बहुत ज़्यादा stringent रहते हैं तो इसके बारे में generally बात नहीं करनी चाहिए क्योंकि जो company follow करी वही follow करेगी, exceptions बहुत rarely मिलते हैं.
I think usually exceptions are very rare here, because whatever the company is following, say in terms of the work model, whether it's a hybrid, remote, or because it's applicable across the organization.
Right.
And if they are making any exception for any particular employee, so that will become a challenge for the organization itself, because then the demands from the existing folks, I think, would be coming.
Right.
So exceptions becomes, I think like quite hard. So that cannot be made by the employers.
Got it. And one thing I'd like to also understand कि अगर मेरे को एक कंपनी बहुत अच्छी लग रही है पर दो ऑफर्स के बीच में आई एम evaluating, so one company is giving me better salary, second I know कि work culture is great but salary is not that great, so what are some of the non-monetary things that I can go ahead and maybe ask with HR or negotiate with them to include in my CTC?
Okay. So you have to see like what are the benefits that the company is offering, say apart from the CTC.
Right.
So there are say a lot of benefits. If you can see, it can be say form of say maybe fitness reimbursement, whether say in terms of the group insurance, medical group insurance, the life insurance cover, these all things. Apart from that, maybe it can be say the company might be not be offering say you a very say fancy numbers on paper like a fixed compensation or say a overall CTC, but it is offering you maybe something in a gold dust form that can be say a ESOPs that the company is offering you. That can be asset for you if you look in the long term.
Right.
So you have to see from a long term thing that what is your say need right now, whether in say you need a financial need right away just to boost your say current thing, or you need something maybe you are okay with not now but you are okay to get something in a long term. So that call the individual has to take, looking at the say the benefits or what they are getting in these two offers.
Got it.
They have.
Shashank, would you like to add something here?
Yeah, Shashank. So another thing is many organizations have that car lease or home lease policies as well, right? Where we can buy a dream home or dream car, let's say by the company's interest and everything. The EMI cost would be reduced and everything. So that would also be there. So that can play another role here when you go for that
Got it.
analysis.
I'll move to the next section. So there are some questions related to resume. So there's a lot of talk about ATS. Ki ATS is important and your resume should be ATS friendly. So would you both would like to demystify what is ATS and what are some of the things that candidate can do to make their resume ATS friendly?
I think one other thing which I have seen is that whenever say we open a job on whenever we open a job, there are a lot of application that comes through.
Right.
And if we say it becomes hard for recruiter also to go at every resume, look at it, and then maybe take a call.
Right.
So most of the time they will say put say some search. They have an option of putting some search over the ATS itself, where they see basically those keywords that they want for that particular job.
Right.
So adding these keywords I think becomes very important in your resume while you are applying for that job. You should have basically you should look at the requirement, and maybe then you can update your resume as well by looking at that particular requirement. So the resume should be updated. Also, I feel that while you're applying in ATS, sometimes what I've seen is that when you open a resume, it won't appear for the recruiters at that point of time. Maybe because of maybe some graphics or some
Right.
more creatives involved in the resume. So you have to look at it. You have to look at some software from where you can get some maybe ATS friendly resume, which can appear well on your ATS. Because nowadays, even what I've seen is apart from the recruiters, even the hiring managers go through the resume that comes in the our ATS.
Right.
So maybe if job priority for that role is different, maybe the recruiter will ask the help of hiring managers as well.
Right.
A recruiter screen versus a hiring manager screen, I think is quite different. It's what I have seen in my experience. They won't go through say every resume, and they will not download the resume and check whether it matches the skill or not.
Right.
So these are some things, a few other things that you have to look at while you're applying for the job.
Yeah, I think definitely, because what I've also seen people generally make it from different platforms. It's either too much graphics, or maybe just share a image resume, which is very difficult for ATS to comprehend. I think one of the things that I'll personally do is that anybody who is watching this session, in the description section, you can get a free resume template that will provide you, which is ATS friendly. Shashank would like to understand from you the role that ATS plays and how candidates can make their resume more ATS friendly.
So, Shashank, here I would say that keep it simple.
Hmm.
That should be your mantra, right? As Vikas said, that candidates try to make up so much things in that resume that the ATS is not able to read that things, right? So keep it simple. Your resume should not be generic, right? Definitely, the summary should be generic, but depending on the jobs that you are applying for, every organization has a specific requirement for each and every role, right? So based on that, make some tweaks in your resume, okay, and try to mention briefly about the projects that you have
Right.
done, right? So the best resume earlier used to be 3-page resume, right? In today's world, it's in the era of that elevator speech kind of thing. It has reduced to that 1 page
Right.
of introduction that is there. So try to include as many skills as possible that you know specifically, and a brief introduction about the projects that you have done in the past.
Got it. And would like to understand ki how ATS then differentiates between two candidates. जैसे I am applying and somebody else is also applying. We both come from similar background. तो किसका resume rank higher करता है? मतलब one is definitely keywords. Other are their projects, certification. Those also play important role in getting your resume a high rank.
Definitely, yes, Shashank. It plays because that, but we haven't communicated, or we haven't had a conversation with the candidate, right? Resume is your first image that goes in front of any person, right? So if by just seeing your resume, I can understand that you have worked on this skill set, or you know this specific role that you have done in the past, and it is matching my existing requirement, then definitely I would give a higher rank to you based on the other candidate where उसने सिर्फ mention किया है कि he has done that particular thing but have not mentioned when and how he has used that.
Got it. Got it. I think
Just to add on here, I think reflection. I think a resume is a reflection of a candidate. I have seen even many. I think folks at leadership level, their resume, getting just rejected because of how they made their resume.
right.
Maybe putting more say bold letters in it, highlighting some of the maybe some of the unnecessary things which were not required. So a resume should always be a reflection of you, how you are say, how basically you are say you are planning to present yourself.
Got it.
So it should be well
I mean,
crafted.
I think we also did one workshop on resume building, so link again will be there in the description. People can look at it. I think only there are few more questions left. So one question is around probation period. So if you both would like to just let audience understand what is probation period and what are some of the do's and don'ts during that period if you want your employment to be permanent.
Okay. So probation period basically plays a testing phase of any candidate in an
Yeah.
organization,
Right.
right? So there are a few organizations where they provide certain trainings to the
Hmm.
candidates, okay, just to make sure that when the candidate is deployed to any project, or the candidate is assigned any team, okay, he or she should know that particular thing, right? In other cases, when the organization expects the candidates to perform from day one itself, it helps the organizations to understand the capability of that candidate, right? So my suggestion here to all the candidates would be, take that probation period seriously, okay. Give it your best whenever you are entering any new organization, because the honeymoon phase doesn't stays longer,
Right.
right? So perform well in that period, and at least prove yourself and prove your recruiters right that you are the right fit for that role. Because in 1 hour of interview, I cannot judge candidates 10 years of experience, right?
Right.
That is something that practical knowledge will come once the candidate is onboarded. right? And the way you perform in the initial 3 months, that will justify your selection as well.
So probation period, basically what I understand is कि इसमें आपकी job permanent नहीं है, because you are being evaluated after 3-6 months. Once you clear that evaluation process, then your job becomes permanent. Got it, got it. I think one question that people also have, कि if we are working on third party payroll and then we are applying for a full time job, then does that create issue, or maybe HR don't have a good perception of candidates who are working on third party payroll? Would like to understand your take, Vikas and Shashank, on this.
One thing I can tell you is, of course, if person is working on a third party payroll, so we were talking about a myth versus reality.
Right.
So somewhat, I think it's somewhat, this is the reality, I would say. In few of the cases, what I have seen is that usually, I think, say from a recruiter point of view, they would not say prefer someone say who's on a third party payroll.
Okay.
In I think most of the cases, and this actually is, I can talk about that. So this actually is. So yeah. So usually like they prefer folks say maybe who's working with the company on their direct payroll, because recruiter understanding is they might be say better at their technical skills, or maybe say for whatever reason. But yeah, somewhat this perception is among the recruiters.
Right, right. So I think one way can be कि these roles can be your transition kind of roles, कि कुछ दिन किया फिर आप full time क्रैक करने की कोशिश करो, या जिस कंपनी में थर्ड पार्टी पेरोल में हो एटलीस्ट उनके यहाँ फुल टाइम रोल देखो. शशांक?
Most of the time, Shank, these people, even even if they are performing well, even that company where they are working in, I think even they eventually will hire him, and that actually happens
Right,
most of
right,
the
right.
time.
That I've also seen happening. Shashank, what's your take on this?
So, Shashank, my point here is a bit different from what Vikas has said, because there are certain organizations who directly do not give you a direct payroll thing, or maybe do not give you a permanent job, right? There are certain organizations where, for example, they hire from only specific tier 1
Right,
colleges, right? They hire only MTech folks, they'll hire only people who have done PGs, right? But for the contractual roles, maybe the candidate was not from a tier 1 college, that's why he was not able to crack that permanent wala role with that organization. But you cannot judge the skills or technicality of that candidate just because he's on a contractual
right,
role, right? So there are industry standard wherein people generally start working on a contractual role just to gain knowledge and to gain experience with that particular organization, okay, where they are not able to get into a permanent role, but they gain a good knowledge which prepares themselves for better opportunities in future.
got it. नहीं, I've also seen it happening कि Google में भी they keep on hiring for these vendor roles या contractual roles. फिर opening आती है, so if these people have relevant set of skills, they convert it into full-time job. I think these last two questions that are left with me. First, would like to understand from you your experience in working as a HR. What are some of the things that you find very rewarding in this career option, and what are some of the things that excite you even today?
So the first thing is we give jobs, right? So that's one thing that makes me feel proud of what we are doing at this point of time. And there are few candidates who are still in touch with me, okay, and whenever they are kind of feeling low in their life, they call and they say that this is the problem that we are facing, do you have any solution for that?
Right,
That makes me feel
right.
happy.
What about you, Vikas?
I think for my thing is what makes me happy working in HR is that organization is run by people, and we are the folks who get a chance to basically hire people for the organization.
Right.
So that is what I feel, because we are the one basically who is bringing the right set of people for the organization. So that what I think makes me feel. Another thing is so we are somewhat advocate basically for the folks who are say looking out for the job, and we are the one basically who brings them say job on the table. So I feel happy about that also, that we are say helping someone out in maybe getting a right job for them, or maybe landing them where they want to be.
Got it, got it. And say this question is to both of you. If somebody who is from non-HR field, they want to transition into this field, what are some of the skills or maybe certifications that you'd like to recommend them to pursue if they want to become a full-time HR?
Okay. So if you are good with people, Shashank, then definitely that is something that can help you out with the HR thing. HR also have different domains. HR is not just about recruitment, right?
Compensation planning.
Compensation is there, benefits are there, reward team is there, engagement team is there. So if you are good with any of these skills, and you think that you can basically represent people,
Right.
right, that will help you out to stand little
Yeah,
separate.
and I think one more thing that can be helpful if somebody is interested, maybe pursuing a course also, because these fundamentals generally you don't learn on day-to-day job if you are from a non-HR field. Maybe doing, if you are somebody who is in a technical field, doing a distance learning MBA at least can help you prepare for this. I think there's one final question that I missed out. There's a viral video that I saw where they said ki if you want to increase your chances of selection, just after the interview, drop a mail to HR thanking them for the opportunity and then telling them that you are super interested and you want this role very badly. So does it land well that after an interview you get a mail or a message from the candidate saying that thank you so much for the opportunity and looking forward to next steps?
I think putting appreciation or something I think is good, but I don't think like you see a higher chance of getting that offer. Of course, if you are say doing appreciation regarding the interview process that you had and regarding the interview experience that you had, I think it's always good to I think express it, but I think it won't give you
It
I think
becomes too much
yeah,
cheesy then. And
right.
and when should a candidate follow up after the interview? Should they do it after 3 days, 7 days, just to know what is the status of their application?
I think there is no specific, I think, timelines around that. I think once the interview process is done, if they had say final round, I think they can say reach out to the HRs and they were in touch with. They can ask like what is the timeline. Basically, then they can expect to get an update from them.
Hmm?
So I think having that clarity from the HR just after the interview process is over, I think that is also good to go. So there is no particular timeline as such
हाँ,
that
because
there
I
is a date
also
that we have
understand कि एक साथ कई लोगों का इंटरव्यू चल रहा होता है, so whenever the process gets completed, that is when you start communicating to candidates. So I also keep on telling कि generally give it a week's time, because during that week there might be multiple interviews being conducted, then hiring manager will also evaluate candidates and then HR get an answer. But thank you so much both for taking out time. I think this was a very meaningful session and going into the hiring season. The expertise of you two will be immensely helpful for those watching this. And thank you again.
Yeah. Thanks, Ashank.
Thank,
Thank you so much, Ashwang, for inviting. It was a great session.
thank you.
I hope that the people who join might get some help for their next job.
Yeah, thank you both. Okay, bye.
Thank you. Bye bye. Bye.